What's up, guys? I'm Marcus Buff Bagwell, and today we're going to talk about how much money I made in World Championship Wrestling. Oh, wow. This whole journey starts off with me, 21 years old, really super young as far as in the pro wrestling world anyway, and trying to make it at WCW. And I remember being in Savannah, Georgia, and it was the first time that I did an interview. It was the interview with Missy Hyatt, and I remember I had a ponytail and a suit on, and it was just a good just a little interview debuting Marcus Alexander Bagwell. And that night, I remember they came to me and they said, "Hey, you need to sign a contract here. We're going to put you in wrestling school." It wasn't called Power Plant. There wasn't a school name yet. It was just a warehouse in Griffin, Georgia that Jody Hamilton and Buddy Lee Parker ran. And so they came to me with a contract, and it was $500 a week to go to wrestling school. And keep in mind, I'm 21 years old. I'm just wanting a foot in the door. This is it. Making $500 a week, which isn't a lot, but still I'm making something to get going into my career I'm trying to make. And so they come to me with the $500. I sign the deal. Go to school the next week and start off at Monday at school doing squats and running the ropes. And, keep in mind, it's time to pay my dues. I get it. And I mean, it seemed like it was 5 minutes, but it was a couple of days go by, and Barry Windham blew his knee out. And when he did, they came to me and they go, "Hey, we're going to get you to fill in for Barry on the road." And so, hey, great, no problems. I didn't know it at the time, but that was the end of the $500 contract. That was the end of me going to school. I was going to go on the road for the next 10 years consecutive. And so I remember coming home, and it was Dusty, and it was Janie Engel was Dusty and Eric Bischoff's secretary. And they called me up and they go, "Hey, we'll give you information, blah, 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 where you got to be." So the next day, after coming home from school, they said, "You've got the phone rang," and they were like, "Hey, where were you at last night?" And I go, "What do you mean? I'm at home." They go, "You missed a show." And I go, I don't know about a show." And they go, "Oh, well, what do you mean? It's on the booking sheet." And I go, "What's a booking sheet?" And when I said that, Janie Engel goes, "Never mind. We'll send you a booking sheet." And I go, "Janie, what's a booking sheet?" She goes, "It's a sheet that tells you where you got to be, who's on the card. Everything you need to know is on the booking sheet." And when you said, "What's a booking sheet?" I realized that you did not know anything about where you're supposed to be last night. So even though I'm on the road for Barry Windham, even though I'm out of school, I'm still making $500 a week so far. So you can't say in one day, "Hey, I want a new contract." So you just kind of buy your time. So I get on the road, we head out, and the loop was like Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and then somewhere in Virginia. And then there was, I think the third or fourth shot was Panama City Beach, Florida. So we did the loop, we drove the whole loop, me and my first wife, and we drove the first loop. And I remember being broke on this loop, being flat broke, because we only made $500 a week, and gas, hotels. I had my own car, so no rental car, but gas, hotel, food, the gym, tanning beds, whatever it is on the road, gas. I mean, it was a lot. $500 a week just don't take you a long ways in the business of wrestling. So I remember, getting home and being like, hey man, I need a contract. And I didn't know how this happened, but somehow the rumor got out that WWF wanted me. So I think it was Kip Fry that was handling the money at this stage. Kip Fry came to me and he goes, hey, I know they're trying to come get you, but we want to keep you here. And I mean, six figures in 2024, I don't care what nobody says, is a lot of money. And six figures in 1991, I can promise you, is a lot of money. And I was very excited to sign a $100,000 contract. I remember my first wife was still stripping, and she was able to quit stripping and was able to get a house and was able to really, start being normal people with money coming in and 21 years old, and we're getting married, and life was, first stage of life taking off, and here we go. And this is the first big contract I've got at WCW. And then, 92 comes around, and I remember, making, 150, they bumped it up a little bit. And then, the next year we didn't do too good. We did decent. And again, $150,000 is a lot of money. I just wanted to be on the team, and so the next year was another 150. That would have been 93. And then 94 now, making now I'm a 2-time, 3-time World Tag Team Champion, and I've showed a lot of promises and, a lot of, good stuff and staying healthy and not hurt or anything. And so everything's been going real good. And then, they bumped it to 200 grand. And I do remember, around the 95 went to 250. And then at 250, I remember I was hearing a lot of 700s getting thrown around. Not a lot of them, but some Booker T chants, some Dallas chants. And it was time for Bagwell to get that, $500-600 thing, $600,000 contract. And I hadn't got it yet, but I remember I wanted to close my deal for Japan because, I didn't want to go to Japan. It was 3 weeks. I really, over there, I hear and see horror stories where guys come back, white as a ghost, and they hadn't worked out and they're out of shape. And I just didn't want the pressure of that. I wanted to stay in shape and all that. So I went over there 3 weeks, and we didn't get my contract done before I went. And I was furious. I was really upset about it. It couldn't have been a better thing for me not to get that contract, because I went to Japan and got super over. I really did a great job. They had the NWO over there and our NWO, and they merged, and nothing but thumbs up, great stuff from Scott Norton and Buff Bagwell and NWO. And so it just kind of handed me a real big 3-year deal that came up. And the 3-year deal, 5, 6, and 7 is what it was. And that contract, though, came with a handshake, and then I broke my neck in Columbia, South Carolina. So April 1998, I do a handshake deal, and then I break my neck. And then Eric, I call Eric, and Eric calls me in the hospital. He goes, you're probably not worried about this, but your deal is still good with me. And I go, back up. I am worried. I go, I got a broke neck laying in a hospital. I haven't had the surgery yet. I'm in a hospital bed with a broke neck. I said, I've got a handshake, $2 million deal on the table, $1.5 million deal. I go, this is a big deal. You could just say no. He goes, Mark, like I said, your deal is solid. Matter of fact, he goes, I will curry it to you right now. And I was like, please. So he curries it to me. contract about this thick. Now in this contract, biggest contract I ever had. So it's the biggest money. I had first class ticketing. I had my hotels paid for and rent the cars paid for. This is a back daddy deal, man. And only a handful of guys got the first class ticketing, and only a handful of guys got the first class ticketing and rent a cars and hotel. I mean, a handful. And I was in there, man. So it was a big deal. Very grateful for it. But that last contract was a big one. But what happened here, I could have never saw coming. I could have never fixed it. But there is a small regret to it. That day, I was so thankful that Eric did what he was supposed to do. He took the handshake deal, the 3-year deal we promised, first class ticketing, hotels, rental cars. So me being the professional I am, I didn't go through the contract and chew up things and no, I don't want that, and I don't want this in my contract, and I don't want that in there. I played a fair game with Eric. I turned to the last page. The money's right. The deal's right. I sign it, hand it to my mom. She couriers it back to Eric. Done deal. I go in for neck surgery, knowing out of neck surgery, paralyzed or not, I got a 3-year deal on the table, so looking pretty good. But 3 years from that day, Vince McMahon would come calling on me, and when he saw my contract, he goes, "We're going to do business." He goes, "But we can't yet." So if I could have done business with with Vince McMahon on the end of that 3-year deal, I could have got in the WWF when I was still Buff Bagwell, not when Vince bought our company and I was Mark Bagwell. And there was a big difference there. Once he had bought us and he owned me, my contract went to $175,000, and I was thankful to get it. But if I could have got in there sooner, I could have had a bigger contract and maybe not had the heat I had, and got my foot in the door more instead of, forcing myself in there or having to get forced in there. So big deal. Again, if I had to do it over, I wouldn't have given Eric a hard time. I still would have signed it, but I could have nicely had Eric take a couple of things out of that contract, and I would have been working for the WWF before they bought us. And, but then again, it's, half glass full, half glass empty, but, just glad to have a great 10-year career. $3,150,000 in contract money. That's not counting not a t-shirt sale, not an action figure sale. That's not counting any extras, appearances, signings, video games, the movies I did. There was only a couple, but there was a couple movies I done. So, I don't count any of that. And there wasn't a whole lot of money there, but still the breakdown for WCW money, $3,150,000 in 10 years. So that's a pretty good decade. I had a lot of fun, and just can only imagine what that number would have been with another 10 at WWE. But that's neither here nor there. So that is my career at World Championship Wrestling financially. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop for all future videos. And if you're interested in cool NWO shirts like this one right here, or other wrestling sports merch, click the link at the top of your screen or in the description of this video to jump over to Fanatics and place your order today.